Time is now for BPH BPO care to prioritize the preservation of bladder health so we can prevent late stage disease. Hot off the press, special gratitude to Current Urology as we now have our first message consolidated in this journal where we talk about the progression of BPH BPO to those late stages of disease, jeopardizing bladder span, jeopardizing bladder health. And so, together, let us really focus on two critical words: hypothesis generating. What that means is we now need to come together. And if we believe in a data first, pro diagnostic, bladder centric paradigm, how do we now start to shape our dialogue with each other? How do we sculpt research? How do we work with our patients with shared decision making, ensuring that bladder health is part of the conversation? Special thanks to these editors, Professor Christian Wetterauer and David Campobasso. Thank you so much for seeing the virtue and value of having this discussion and dialogue between community urologists and academics about what does it mean when we bring the bladder into the conversation. So special thanks to these editors and Current Urology, as well as the publishers. And finally, here's the paper. As you go through it, a lot of this is in our manifesto book on Amazon that came out in April. But once again, these vision of male LUTs, where bladder dysfunction is at the very center, and where we stand guard as defenders of the detrusor right here against the damage and dangers of benign prostatic obstruction, being ever vigilant of these other causes. Remember, for male LUTs, it's very complex because it's some combination often of primary bladder disease, like aging, and or secondary bladder disease, like BPO. And then we have our classic 5 stages of bladder health. Shout out to Christopher Kwong for designing this, has really helped us with visualizing what we're trying to achieve, which is preventing these later stages and intervening earlier. Then we have our classic window of curability. Shout out to the 50,000 pressure flow study by Kaplan et al. In 2020, as well as to SRS Medical for the penile cuff testing, which has really made this possible for us to visualize the natural history of BPO and see this window of curability. And obviously, this table looking at the evidence that we have out there to have this conversation. Once again, though, we're just actually starting with this new framework. How do we design prospective, multi-center, randomized trials to really define the preservation of bladder health? And how do we time the intervention to de-obstruct at the right time within the window of curability? So I just want to thank all of you, the Man vs. Prostate Tribe on LinkedIn. It is your energy that drives this forward so that we cannot just make the changes we need to make, but we can be the change that we all seek for all of our men so they can become the best version of themselves, incontinence-free and catheter-free. So once again, special gratitude to all of you, and let's go save more bladders. Remember, this is really just a tool for conversations. Print it up, share it, make that a challenge. Share this with one other person that you know who hasn't thought about BPH, BPO in terms of bladder health. If you're a med tech rep, give it to one of the urologists that you work with or a primary care physician. Let's start thinking about bladder health screening, because bladder health is a key component for men, using maybe Qmax as the next vital sign, just like we use blood pressure to screen for hypertension to prevent late stage sequelae of high blood pressure. So let's keep going. We're doing a great job. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Thank you guys so much for the energy you bring as we have this conversation to evolve forward BPH, BPO. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.